Hello, hello. So for some reason was feeling a little bit more energetic today. I was, now I'm feeling tired again. On this, the last official day of fall break, we've got the weekend, but then it's back to school. And now for the fun part, trying to back out of here and not get hit or kill anybody. So I decided to take one more swat at the movies and go see the new one that came out, The Accountant, the new Ben Affleck picture. Hang on one second. Alrighty. Anyway, not quite sure where to start with this one. It's kind of weird. Not weird in a bad way. It was a good movie. Let's start with that. Good movie. So if you've seen the trailers, you know Ben Affleck plays this autistic accountant, this kind of math genius who also is like super kick-ass, hitman kind of thing. Or not so much a hitman. He just knows how to handle himself. You know, they go through this whole thing about his father having trained him at a young age so that he would know how to handle himself. Kind of goes with the Master Splinter theory of parenting, that, you know, your kid's going to be made fun of, so better make sure they know how to kick a lot of ass, you know, to like a super obsessive degree. And he's brought in to, Ben Affleck's character is like this accountant to all these terrible people, but he also does like minor things. Works for big companies and all that, because, you know, the way his mind works, he can't let things go, and he's really good with numbers and all that. So he's called in to look at the books for this robotics company that's owned by John Lithgow. He discovers he and this other young accountant who works there, played by Anna Kendrick, discover something's up. Hitmen come after Anna Kendrick, and now Ben Affleck has to protect her. Very Bourne Identity kind of stuff. While all that is going on, these two federal agents are trying to track Ben Affleck down, trying to figure out who he is. One of them was played by J.K. Sims, another one by a young lady who did a very nice job. I don't know her name, I'm sorry. So there's like 3 or 4 plots going on. And I think that's kind of the big problem with the movie, is with so many different stories, and doesn't feel like any one of them really got there in terms of the interest level. Well, I'll take that back. The storyline of J.K. Sims and the other agent trying to track down and figure out who Ben Affleck is, and finding out information about him and his life and who he was and who he is and all that, that was kind of interesting, but it was much more interesting than the main thread of the story, Ben Affleck trying to protect Anna Kendrick. That story and the mystery of who hired the guys and who was after them and all that wasn't anywhere near as interesting, and it didn't have anywhere near as good of a payoff. That was kind of left in the dust, and you're just kind of going, oh, that was it. Whereas the other mystery kind of has a better payoff, I think. So it's like you almost had 2 movies going on. Like they were kind of like one of those things where they filmed the film and the sequel at the same time, and only instead of releasing them separately, they smashed them together and made one movie. You almost feel like there's a sequel. That one of these was supposed to be the sequel, but you never know which one. It's not confusing. It's just not so many storylines going. They're not all fulfilled satisfactorily to my taste. So that's one. Good things. Performances kind of across the board are all really good. J.K. Sims is J.K. Sims. He's just freaking awesome. You got John Lithgow and Gene Smart both show up in this one, and they're great. Ben Affleck is kind of in the middle of this this kind of career resurgence, which I'm happy to see. for a long time there, he was the joke of Hollywood. And he's very, very slowly started to carve his way back up and gain more respectability as a director and even a little bit as an actor. He's never been as good an actor as Matt Damon. But he is a very good director. Argo and The Town have done very well. And, they had a trailer for his new movie coming out that I'm like, oh, okay, he directed it. I'm seeing that. But as an actor, he's always kind of been glimpsing up at Matt Damon's shadow a bit. But I think he's finally starting to come back at it. I mean, even people who hated Batman v Superman, like me, think he did a pretty good job in it. And here I think he underplays things, and I think, much to his credit, because he has a tendency to go overboard. And for a long time, it used to be the only time Ben Affleck could act really well is if A, he wrote the movie, or B, Kevin Smith wrote it for him. But he's finally starting to come out of that a little bit. So he was pretty good in this. I adore Anna Kendrick. Anna Kendrick's one of those actors that I'm just like, oh my gosh, she's got a lot of charisma, and sorry, sexist as it may sound, God love it, she's adorable. She did good in this. The only thing I would say negative about her in this is that it almost felt like her character was coming from another movie. Everybody else in this was so super straight and, very straight-faced, took everything very seriously. She looked like she thought they were filming a romantic comedy. She's doing that so that Hugh Grant charmingly befuddled bit. She had a really nice moment in it with Affleck in a scene in a hotel room where they're talking, and she's talking about how she got into accounting and how she learned to count cards and play poker and all that. So she has a good moment. They let her kind of come out of it. But again, not so much a problem with her, but a problem with this character and everything is that him protecting her is supposed to be like kind of the thrust of the movie, more or less. But really, they don't share that much screen time, and so you really don't get why he'd go out of his comfort zone to protect her. And yeah, again, their storyline, the main storyline, or the quote-unquote main storyline, really gets lost in the shuffle. Only other thing really to talk about, because I'm really sitting here racking my brain trying to figure out what else can I say, what else is there to kind of go into about this movie. Only thing I want to touch on, and this is just me, I'm getting a little bored of these action movies. Again, I don't even know if I'd qualify this as an action movie. That's one of those things. As I was walking out, I was kind of thinking, if I had to describe this movie to somebody, which is what I'm trying to do here, what genre would I say it is? It's not really an action film, because there's not a lot of action in it. It's kind of a mystery film, but part of the mystery you already know. So yeah, it's like, what kind of film is this? I don't think they knew, and I don't know if it, it doesn't, not that everything has to be quantified and categorized, but it helps. So anyway, I'm getting really bored, and it started with the Bourne series, ironically, with these super awesome fighting guys who just nobody can ever beat. They always know what you're going to do before you do it. They always get the drop on you. Their martial arts is the best. They can pick off a bad guy at 4,000 yards away with a pea shooter, and Affleck is, we are supposed to kind of get that, his autism, the way he was raised, that of course he obsesses over everything more, so therefore that makes him more dangerous because he, it's just the way his mind works. Fine. But he's kind of like, he's just like Jason Bourne, and in retrospect, I think back to my Mr. Right review, another one with Anna Kendrick that I liked. One of the problems I had with that film upon rewatching is that, pardon me, the hitman in that one was so untouchable. He was just so super awesome that nobody could ever beat him, and that's cool at first, but it takes a lot of the suspense and a lot of the interest out of it after a while. When Jason Bourne first hit, and it was, you know, he was this super awesome, nobody could ever beat him thing. It was kind of, you know, the cool thing about it was he didn't know how he became that way. You know, it was kind of the Spider-Man thing of what if one day you woke up with all these superpowers, you know, and you don't know how they got there, you just did. You know, how would you react? And that's kind of where that all snowballed in that character. But it's gone on and it's infected a lot of action movies now, and this one included. You know, where, you know, Ben Affleck's character is just so super freaking awesome that there's not really any suspense to anything. Now, compare that to early Bond movies, and even some of the more recent ones. You know, I'll give Daniel Craig a break. In early Bond movies, yeah, you knew Bond was going to win in the end, but he wasn't always the best fighter. You know, he wasn't always, you know, 1 to 15 steps ahead. You know, he got by on a lot of luck with the gadgets. He got by on a lot of just quick thinking, you know, seeing something and going, oh, I can use that. But if you watch a lot of those movies, you know, he goes up against the henchman, he's getting his ass kicked. You know, that's why people like Jaws and Odd Job and characters like that, is because they would beat him up. You know, and he'd beat them kind of, again, dumb luck and gadgets or something like that. And it's what made Bond, it was one of the few things that kind of made Bond relatable. You know, is that he wasn't, he was trained, obviously, but he wasn't, you know, super kung fu man. And even, you know, even films now like the Avengers know this, and they try to give their guys people who are, you know, physical matches for them. But some of these movies, you know, the Jason Bourne one, you know, was another example of one that their guy is just so super duper awesome and nobody can ever beat him, no one can ever stop him. It's like, well, then why am I watching this? You know? And I felt like they really overpowered Ben Affleck in it. I really do. Now, I'm saying all this, I'm giving it all this criticism. But if you were to ask me, was it a good movie? I would probably end up saying, yeah. You know, despite all this, I've been talking for, 7, 8 minutes or something here. I can't see the clock right now. And kind of laying out all this stuff I didn't like and didn't work or didn't hang together well. But the performances, the actors in it are really what save it. You know, I think if this had a weaker cast, then it wouldn't have been as good. But I think, starting with Ben Affleck, Anna Kendrick, J.K. Sims, Gene Smart, John Lithgow, Jeffrey Tambor, it's got a pretty solid cast, and they play it really well. They play off each other really well, and because they are so interesting, and they're so interested in what they're doing, it makes these less interesting mysteries seem more interesting, So, it's not a bad movie. It's not like one I've gone that I regret seeing. But if you were to ask me, would I buy it on DVD or would I ever watch it again? Probably not. There's no big set piece in it that makes it worth a rewatch. None of the characters are really interesting enough that I'd want to spend more time with them. The mysteries itself aren't interesting enough that I'm willing to rewatch them, even though I know the outcome. So it's not a bad one for like it is today, a rainy day, and you decide you want to go to a movie, and I give them credit, even with Ben Affleck being big, unstoppable killing guy. At least some of the stuff he was doing was interesting and new, and they found different ways for him to do it. And the joke of, oh, but he's an accountant and he's kicking my ass, it wears thin pretty quick. So it's not a terrible movie, but is it one that I would rewatch again? Not really. But that being said, kind of like I said with Ghostbusters, if for some reason this does well enough, and they decide, because they're stupid and because, we can't do anything original, let's do an Accountant Part 2. now that all like the groundwork is laid and the backstory is all out, and we can just kind of see him maybe go and get involved in another adventure, that I might go see just to go, okay, the characters are interesting enough, the acting was good enough. That means there might be something there to see now that we kind of got a lot of this, groundwork laid. I say that, but I also say I hope they don't do that. I don't think it needs a sequel. I don't think a lot of things need a sequel. So, pretty standard, pretty mediocre. I can't really lambaste it too much, but I also can't praise it too much. Good acting, good performances by a pretty stellar cast all the way around. So that might make it worth your time and money. If not, then it's maybe a Redbox special or a Netflix thing. Catch it there. I don't think you're missing much. So that's kind of it. I don't think I'm going to get another chance to do one of these before the fall break's over. We'll see. So I thank you all for joining me for my fall break at the movies. And I'll be back later with more drive home reviews. So until then, drive safe, and we'll see you at the movies.